Alright, what's up guys, it's your boy Dane Visuals here, and in today's video I'll be showing you the best settings for the DJI Mini 3 Pro. I'll just get straight into it. Alright, so the first thing I do when I'm using this drone is I'm going to adjust the settings from auto to pro mode. Naturally the drone comes in an auto mode, but if you want to get cinematic shots you can't shoot auto. So the first thing I do is I change that to pro. Now ideally if you're shooting with a drone, you're going to want to use ND filters. Unfortunately, I don't have ND filters for the Mini 3 Pro. I plan to get some soon, but they're a little bit hard to get at the moment. So keep in mind that if you want to get the best kind of shots outside of this drone, you're gonna need ND filters. For the moment though, I'll just turn up my I'll turn up my shutter speed so that I can get the shots that I need. All right, so once you turn on Pro mode, what you're gonna do is you're gonna go to the three dots to the top right corner, right? And you're going to go to camera. All right, now the first set of settings you're going to see under camera is format. Now you have two formats. You have MP4 and MOV. Now MP4 is a format that is specifically built for general devices. It works basically on all editing software and most devices. MOV, I believe, is a higher quality format, but it doesn't work on all devices. So if you're using a Windows computer, it's preferable to shoot in MP4. If you have a Mac, you can shoot in MOV. I don't think the quality difference is going to be that great, but it's a personal preference. Now for color, if you intend to shoot your images flat and do post-processing, you have to use the Cine. In the normal mode, the colors are going to come baked inside the drone. That's not going to give you the most cinematic look. If you want to give your own style to the footage, you have to shoot in the Cine. Though this is going to require some post-processing. So if you don't plan to do any editing to the colors in post, shoot it normal. But if you plan to get the most cinematic look, you have to shoot flat. Next is the coding format. You have H.264 and you have H.265. With H.264, that's going to be less heavy on your computer, but H.265 is a better codec generally. The next thing is the histogram. So the histogram basically is a graph that shows you your exposure. Now that's something that you don't want to just expose using the camera screen only. So it's best to use the histogram so you have a clear idea. When it's pushed over to the left, that means things are underexposed. When it's pushed over to the right, that means they're overexposed. Try to find the balance in between two. And I mean, there's gonna be some cases when the image is gonna be mostly highlights or mostly shadows, so you'll gauge it, but it's a good way to get an accurate representation of what's in your shot. All right, going back to that menu, I do not use peaking levels because generally I don't use manual focus on this drone. Exposure warning. If you're using your histograms, you probably won't need an exposure warning, so I'll leave that off as well. And grid lines. Grid lines are very important. If you like to get nice compositions, you need to turn your grid lines on. All right, so those are the camera settings. As it pertains to white balance is going to be set based on your environment. For daylight, I'd say it can range between 5500 to 6000 Kelvin. You can adjust that accordingly, but that's where you want to stay generally. All right, now that we have our camera settings out the way, we're going to go to control, right? When we go to control, we're going to go to advanced gimbal settings. Now this guy's where you really dial in those settings, right? So the drone comes with three standard modes, right? There's Cine Mode, normal mode, and sports mode. So what you want to do is you want to customize each of those modes so you can get the best performance out of all of them. This is going to give you the most cinematic shots. All right. So the first thing is normal mode. So for normal mode, the drone is going to go at an average speed. All right. So for the average speed, for me personally, I use these particular settings. The truth is everyone is going to fly different because these settings basically determine how the control sticks feel and how the camera gimbal reacts. So the first thing is pitch speed. What pitch speed does is this dial right here, this dial on the left hand side, it moves the gimbal up and down. So pitch speed is going to determine how fast it travels up and down. So if you want it to move fast as soon as you press that, or if you want it to move less fast or slow, if you want it to move slow, then you will decrease or increase based on how you operate the controls. I find that when I'm using normal mode, which is fairly fast but not super fast, I like the speed to be around 31 degrees. You'll have to adjust that personally, but it's very important for you to adjust it so that when you're using your sticks, you get a good performance. All right, pitch smoothness. So basically when you move the dial right here, it's going to move the gimbal up and down. So pitch smoothness, what it does is instead of you coming to a direct stop when you remove your hands from off the dial, it will either slowly halt or still move even after and then come to a very gradual stop. This is going to help your shots to look way more cinematic. If you're doing a shot and the camera comes to a sudden stop, it doesn't really look intentional. It almost looks kind of amateurish. But if you notice that shot going like down, then it slowly rises up and it slowly gradually stops, it's going to look more cinematic. So for pitch smoothness in my normal mode, I use 25. I can range between 25 to 28. You'll have to adjust as to what you find comfortable, but 25 works for me very well. Yaw rotation speed is basically how the drone turns left and right. I keep mine at 60 degrees. The slower it turns will also be more cinematic, but also you do want to have a good amount of speed while you're turning, for me personally. And yaw smoothness, I keep it the same level as the pitch smoothness because I like slow, gradual stops. All right, so normal mode, those are my settings. I'll leave this right here so you can copy them. And now we're gonna go to the next mode, which is Cine Mode. One thing to note, the screen is very sensitive, so sometimes I'll accidentally press or change a setting. So Cine Mode, I keep everything low on Cine Mode. Reason being, on Cine Mode, the gimbal is going to move a lot slower. The drone is going to move a lot slower. So the slower the drone moves, the more cinematic the shots are going to look. A key point to note about Cine Mode is that when you're high up in the air, you're probably not going to want to use Cine Mode as you're already really far from things. So to get actual movement, you're going to have to go either in normal or sports mode. When you're really close to objects, like you're really close by, that's where you use your Cine Mode to do like those fine-tuned movements. And it's gonna look a lot smoother because you're going slow while closer. But if you're super high up in the air, you probably don't want to be using Cine Mode. You might be better off using normal or sports mode. Even if you're going super fast, because you're so high up, it won't look jittery in sports mode. In fact, it'll look a lot more intentional. So I will leave these settings right here. Again, these are my personal preference. I think they'll work for most of you guys, but you can always adjust accordingly now that you know what the settings do. All right, guys, so this is the video on how to get the most cinematic settings out of the DJI Mini Pro 3. If you guys have any questions, let me know below. Thank you guys for watching this video all the way to the end. Also, if you guys want to see more, I'll be leaving a video right here about the DJI Mini Pro 3 versus the DJI Mavic Pro 2. All right, guys. I'm just gonna get some more.